You are listening to the Soul Curators podcast, where we get into the funk and soul of things. It's all about good conversations about music. So come join us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. It's the Soul Curators, Mr. Goodbar, Christina Curate, Soup's Kitchen. We are back, but F all that. Cy Smith is here. Make some noise.
Hey!
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us today, and in the midst of such wonderful things happening with you right now. And we're going to talk about all of them. You know what I mean?
So happy to be here with y'all.
Awesome. So, we first got to start off with the incredible project that you just recently released. Until we meet again, we got so much to talk to you about this album.
Okay.
And I told you on social media, I was like, yo, I got a couple of questions about a couple of specific songs we got to talk about for real.
Okay.
you number one on my title right now. So I got like
Is that right?
30 something streams of Until We Meet Again album. But specifically, All the Ways is my song. Like that's my MVP song.
Awesome.
So, yeah, you number one on my title. So if you see some $3 coming your way, just know it came from title.
I will not spend it all in one place.
Please. So listen, first of all, congratulations on the project. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Top to bottom. We actually had to have a conference call the other day to talk about the album ourselves because we've been so inundated with it and just really living with it. And that's why I wanted to make sure we got a chance to talk to you about it before you got on the road with it and got ready to, perform it. We'll talk about the tour as well.
Okay.
But, I can't stop gushing over how dope this album is. Like,
God.
It's incredible.
That really makes me feel good. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So I want to start with, I guess let me get this out the way because this is the emotional part. So I listened to it top to bottom. I love it. I have my favorites, but I do have a question about the inspiration behind first, Always Pick Up For You and Until We Meet Again. For me, both of those songs are like touching on some heartstrings that, but it's a good feeling because, you need to have that emotional part come out every now and then. So what was your inspiration behind that?
Always Pick Up For You. Zoe brought me that piano track back in, I think it was 2017. It was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I want to say his pops passed away the year before that. Mm-hmm. And when he brought me the track, it just sounded to me like a letter. And so the first thing I thought was, if I could write a letter to my aunt who passed away, what would I say to her? To like a parental figure, because his father passing away was fresh on my mind. And so it made me think, how can I put that in my own sort of life, So I started thinking, like picked up the phone to call you because I've actually done that before. She passed away many years ago, but it still hits me like it was yesterday. She passed out the day Speaker Box came out,
Wow.
Outcast, but it's still to this day, I think about it all the time. So picked up the phone to call you was the first lyric that came to my head, Picked up the phone to call you, needed you in my ear, Mm-hmm. And it just sort of flowed from there. I didn't really edit that much. Like the way you hear it is the way I wrote it. And I recorded it in 2017 and we never did anything with it because Zoe had finished Forefront. I think that was the album he was working on back then. And so it didn't really go on. It didn't belong on that record. We didn't know what we were going to do with it. We just held on to it. And then when we decided we were going to do a Zoe Psy album, we brought it back. Mm-hmm. And that's when and I think in 2020 is when we called up Piranha Head to put the strings on it. Mm-hmm. because we were going to do this Zoe side project. But then Fonte said to Zoe, instead of you and Cy doing a project, you should do a project with another producer. And then we should produce an album on Cy. So that's how it ended up on this, what we are calling this album, Wow. And and when I saw this album sort of shaping up to be what it was, I decided that another song that we had done, me and Zoe had done, called Until We Meet Again, I said, Zoe, maybe we should chop up that song and make it an interlude instead. So that's how Until We Meet Again becomes an interlude instead of the full song. You guys, that song is actually a song.
What?
Yeah, but we decided to chop it and make it an interlude, and then I did the spoken bit where I'm just saying what it is, because there had been talks about just leaving it blank with the vocals sort of sparsely around it and the guitar playing, but I didn't want people to try to guess what it was about. I wanted to just say it, like, to be honest with you guys, I'm not okay. This has really been hard. These last few years have been really hard for me. And I felt like it was needed because I know I'm not alone in that.
Absolutely. Right.
I wanted to give us permission to acknowledge that and acknowledge it out loud, and then be okay with saying who it is that we miss out loud, like just saying their names. Like, we're not crazy for wanting to do that.
Right. And then you interjected with, now you take time to say who your loved one is.
Yeah.
And did I not say my Aunt Mary? Because I lost her a couple of years ago, and I had reconnected with, I haven't spoken, short testimony, hadn't spoken to her in probably 30 years. Finally got in connection with her. We spoke. She was ill already. I made plans to go see her. I lost her before I got a chance to do it. So it just, Christina and I talked, and we were both like, yo, we cried about this.
Yes.
But it was a beautiful cry. You know what I mean? And it was needed. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you
for that.
Thank you.
So I have a second question about that. I don't want us to be in this somber mode.
Hold on, because
I know.
It's all right.
So do you think that you will perform the song?
Always pick up for you? I think I will. I have no problem being completely vulnerable on stage. Because the fact is, every time I try to sing that song out loud, I cry every time. But I don't have a problem being vulnerable on stage. I think that the stage is one of the few places where I feel free to be like that, to be honest with you. So, I don't necessarily expect the audience to cry too, but if the song takes people to a place of truth like that, that's a good thing for everybody in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With you speaking about vulnerability, I saw one of your posts that you performed a song. I think it was why do you keep calling me?
Yeah.
You wrote that. You didn't record it yet, and then you performed it before you recorded it. Do you do that a lot? Like, is that something that you do on a normal basis with your songs? Like, do you
workshop them? Yeah. So I do workshop songs sometimes. I don't workshop every single song, but I do workshop songs, especially when it's a song that I think will translate on stage before it translates in the studio.
Yeah, I understand.
So like I workshopped, there's a song from my Cyberspace Social album called For Show. Y'all remember that? Hey, what up though? I'm glad to see you at the show. But that song, I wrote that song to be an introduction, to be my first song in a live set. So I didn't record it. I just played it live all the time. And then after playing it live, probably for a year before I went in the studio and recorded it, I knew how I wanted to record it, this, why do you keep calling me? I had already demoed it, but I hadn't finished the recording by the time the video that you saw. But I knew that it was something I wanted to be on the album. Oh, the question was also, because the album was produced by Zoe and Tall Black Guy. Why Do You Keep Calling Me is the only song I produced on the album. So it
Oh,
was,
okay.
so they were like, well, but we didn't produce this. Not that they were hating on it or anything like that, but they were like, it's such a different feel than everything else. You know, how is it going to fit? But I really wanted it to be on the album. And I was like, I can make it fit. I can make it fit. So I put strings. I had a lady here, Gina Kronstadt, here in Los Angeles, do a string arrangement. And Gina has played with Earth, Wind and Fire, Herbie Hancock. I mean, she's done some albums, right? The Jacksons, Michael Jackson. So she's got that old school knowledge. I said, Gina, I want this song to feel like if Minnie Riperton were still alive making records, that's what I want it to feel like.
Yes,
She was like, she said, I got you. And she did the arrangement, and then the song fit on the album. So that was the question, like, how is it going to fit, you know, when it doesn't really match the production of Zoe and Tall Black Guy. I said, I know I'm producing it, but I can make it work.
And so you did. And you really you took me right into my next question. I was going to get to this later, but this is perfect. We have marveled at the sequencing of this album. We are music nerds. We really are. and how songs play in sequence of an album is important to how smooth it sounds and how good it sounds. It will also highlight some songs that may not have been highlighted if you put it in the wrong spot. Absolutely. We have marveled at how excellent you have sequenced this project. So can you tell me a little bit how that sequencing process work and who else put ears on it? And you know what I mean?
I mean, listen, it was between me, Zoe, and Fonte, there were a lot of different ideas as to how this should be sequenced, and Tall Black Guy. So Zoe, I had done a sequence, Zoe had done a sequence, or Zoe and Tall Black Guy had done a sequence, and we were bouncing back and forth. And then we sent what we had to Fonte, and Fonte did a whole different sequence, right? And everybody really wanted the the faster tempo stuff sort of in the front, which I totally understand. But I wanted Why Do You Keep Calling Me in the front. I wanted that to start the album. But Fonte had laid out a sequence where some of the songs I really liked where they were going song to song. I just didn't want the first song on the album to be Slide. So I took some of his sequencing in the body, of the album. And then I put Flowers at the top and Why Do You Keep Calling Me second. Because Flowers was the last song we wrote and recorded for the album.
Wow.
But I was like, this is the opener. This is the opener. This is the opener of the album. How ironic that it's the last song we recorded, but it's it's going to be the first song. I don't know if y'all know that yet, but it is. and the story that I wanted told was, I'm giving you your flowers at the beginning, and then at the end, I'm going to acknowledge everybody these flowers go to.
Love it.
So that's how that happened. Yeah.
Masterful.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Christine, I got to skip you real quick because we got to go into this. Speaking of masterful, I got to talk about Masterclass.
Oh,
that is my entire listen. The way I love that song, I loved it from the jump. Because what I did was when we listened to it, we just listened to it. We didn't look at the album cover, the credits, or anything. I didn't look at the sequence. I didn't look at the guest appearances, nothing. I just played it. Then when I saw Sheila E. was on it, I was like,
Listen.
Can you tell us about how that song came together and that recording process for that song?
Yeah. So Zoe, Tall Black Guy, Be My Fiasco, and myself sort of did a 4-day writer's camp at Zoe's house in Wheaton, Maryland. And each day we built a song from scratch, not like pre-recorded tracks that Zoe and Tall Black Guy did and sent to us. We started from the ground up. I'm the kind of writer that I like having something to do with the progressions. You know what I mean? So Zoe, being the type of player he is, he'll have a really dope progression. And then I can be like, all right, now what if we go here? And he'll be like, oh, okay, boom. And then we write like that. And I think that's what makes these songs like Masterclass so special, because musically they actually go in places where songwriters can flex. You know what I mean? So we demoed it, or I demoed it right at Zoe's house. After me and B My wrote the lyrics or whatever, I demoed it. And that part, breathe, don't just be minding that. That's all B My. She wrote that part, and I love it. But I can't really sing in front of people. I have to go home and like sing it by myself. What? I do. So I brought that song back home and recorded it, in the closet. And after I finished recording it, I knew I wanted a guitar and I knew I wanted percussion. So 2023 was the year of calling in favors. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying, right? Listen, we know all too well.
You know what I'm saying? So I called up my sister Sheila E. and my bro Leo Amawedo on guitar, and they both said yes, and that's what you hear, So when I went in the studio to mix this song, it was just me and my engineer Grant. Now, if you leave me alone with the stems, I'm gonna do a whole bunch of stuff to them. Don't leave me with the stems, because anything could happen. So I had all the stems, and I was like, I wanted to just be keyboards and percussion at the top, So that's how it ended up flowing. What you hear, keyboards and percussion, and then the guitar, and then I can hear you clearly now. That's I kind of was the person that was like, let me bring everything in at a time. And then towards the end, break everything back down, so that it ends up being like guitar, percussion, and I think just keys a little bit. And I also wanted to add vocals to that end part too. That was me having sort of my Kid Creole moment, Kid Creole and the Coconuts. That whole, well, you look good on paper, but you're so lame. You stole my heart and started a flame. Well, teacher, tell me what we learned today. Hey, all of that was just me just having my little samba, bossa nova, Kid Creole, Dr. Buzzard's moment. And so I called Anthony David to sing those backs, and Be My Fiasco also did the backs on the very end part. Yeah.
I heard Be My Fiasco's voice, but I didn't know that was Anthony David.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Just on the end, that outro, Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of somebody like Anthony David, by you bringing him back, you think you could bring other artists back out of retirement? Like this guy in Detroit, his name is Dwelle. You think you can bring him back?
Oh gosh, I don't know what kind of power I have. I don't think I have any power. But Anthony David has a single out with Algebra right now. That's really killing.
Yes.
Need You Now. Yeah.
Yes, it's really good.
It's really good.
There's a backstory with that. Dwelle is one of Soup's favorite artists, and we almost every episode we have a conversation about Dwelle. So
he's like my arch nemesis of the show. Like I got to bring him in, but he's my favorite all time. Like he's one of my favorite artists. When I got married, he was playing, like my wife, he was playing. I had my kids, his music was playing. So, I love Dwelle too. So, Dwelle, if you watch this, you are missed, brother. Come on back.
From your mouth to God's ears.
That is too funny.
I thought about like listening to this album and listening to you, like you connected with Zoe, Tall Black Guy, Fonte, Be My Fiasco, like the foreign exchange movement, you connected with them. Do you have a dream list of artists from your era, from that in the beginning, the neo soul, the soul, the R&B, all of that do you have a collab dream album of artists that you would just, if you had it, call them up and let's.
Right. I mean, I don't know that I have a list per se, but I definitely, and I've had the privilege and honor of working with him before on other stuff, but not on my own stuff. But I would love to work with Raphael Sadiq on some Cy Smith stuff, you know. So Ray, you know, if you see this, like, come on. I love Raphael Sadiq. I love D'Angelo, you know. I think those two would be at the top of my list. Not necessarily in the same camp or school, but I love Sting. Like Sting, if you ever want to do something, you know, we've been on stage together, but you know, we can get in the booth together too. You know,
we tagging all of them.
Yeah. I love
that.
With you being the legend that you are, because like you've mentioned legends, but you also a legend yourself. I mean, going from acting, you've been in some classic things. You've been in some of not my favorite video game, but you've been in some video games. One of my favorite scenes was the American Dad, the hot tub scene. You got that, and then also something new that me and the family have sit down and watched was Hey Love.
Young Love.
Young Love. So we sit down and we watched that. We watched it when it came out and everything, and your voice is in that. So
yes,
you know, with you being legendary on the voice side, like, and you also said that you're shy. Like, how do you do that? Like,
it's so weird. I am shy when it comes to a very specific part of the creative process. But when it comes to performing, I'm not shy, you know? So yeah, when we're writing and writing, and then I have to demo something, you know, yeah, I'm a little weird about doing that in front of people. I'll do it, but it's like, oh God, let me just finish this and get out of here. And then I can take it home and do it the way I really want to do it. But when it comes to like performing and, you know, being in the booth for a voiceover job or something like that, it's all performance. And that's a different category in my brain.
Okay.
You know, so I have no problem. I have no bones about that. You know, I'm empowered by that. Actually, it's very strange. I can be in front of a crowd of 10,000 people and perform like it's nothing. But if there's 10 people, oh my God, that's where I'm like, Jesus, you know what I mean? I'll do it, but it's a lot harder. It's a bigger challenge for me. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get it, but
it's very, I feel like a room of a cafe full of 25 people, I feel like they can see the inside of my brain, you know, whereas, you know, Glastonbury or whatever, you know, 100,000 people, whatever, that's easy. That's easy for me, you know. Isn't that strange? That's such a strange thing.
But I guess I could kind of understand it, but I've never been in front of 100,000 people, so I'm freaking out over that, like, you know. But I definitely, I can understand it though.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the brain can sort of compartmentalize these types of things, you know, and say 100,000 people can't really see you, but 10 people can.
Yeah.
You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have been working with FE. I think this might be good for, I hope it's not your question. You've been working with FE for a very long time, and I've been following foreign exchange for a long time. So this is your 6th studio album, right?
Yeah. Yes.
What made you decide to work with them, produce and executive produce with Fonte? Now,
I mean, just timing. Like it wasn't like they had ever asked me before and I said, nah, I'm good. I'm doing this myself. It wasn't like that. You know, it was just the timing. You know, Zoe and I had been planning to do a Zoe Psy album. Like we had started it probably in 2019, you know, and then the pandemic happened and everybody was just kind of looking for the next thing to do. And when Fonte said, Zoe, you should do this instead, and then let us do an album on Psy, and then hit me up and said, Psy, how do you feel about that? What, can we just do an album on Psy and put it out on FE music? And I was like, okay. Like it was really that easy. There wasn't a whole bunch of, back and forth and your people need to talk to my people and give them a contract and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
We're fam. We've been working together so long. So it was just a natural and very organic evolution, to get to that place. And I've been wanting to do stuff with Fonte and Nicolay for a long time, So when he said he would EP this project, I was like, perfect, and my fingers were crossed that he would write some songs for this project too, which he did, because I was like, this would be really cool. I was just thinking to myself, it'd be really cool. In fact, if you had said to me 2 years ago, who's somebody on your dream list, I would have been like Fonte and, and Nicolay, So, I can cross Fonte off because, he wrote 2 songs on this one, and I think I'm probably going to end up doing some work with Nicolay too on a future project. So I'm surrounded by my dream list. That's the honest truth,
I love that. I think it really, the album itself, the sound of it resonates. It feels like a family affair, which is why it's so telling and so wonderful that you spoke about your family in all forms, because you're surrounded by family with the music. It even sounds like we could hear it as people who listen to and support each one of the artists that worked on this project with you. We hear how it felt like they kept you in a safe space so that you can freely express. And I thought it was really dope to have Chris Bodie on the project as well. Also.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, again, it was the year of calling in the favors.
Listen. You know what? Listen. We who know better than us.
But he was so gracious. I've been touring with Chris on and off since 2007. Wow. So so it's been a long time coming. And we were in the airport one day, just getting ready to check into a flight. We're on the airplane all the time. We're in the airport all the time. I think I had 1 million miles on United a couple of months ago. I hit 1 million. Like Jesus. We're always on a plane. So we were in the airport just doing what we normally do. And I said, Chris, I'm working on my album. Do you think you could? He was like, yeah, anything you want. I didn't even finish the question.
That's what's up.
I didn't even finish the question. And he was gracious enough to play, and he ripped it.
Yes.
It's absolutely. I love what he played for the song. It lifted it so much higher. And I didn't even, I said to Zoe and Tall Black Eye, like, I think I'm going to get Chris Bodie to play on this. And they were like, but we got it, So it was really cool. I'm just happy that it worked out.
So summer of 93.
Yo, that's my joint.
So I know you are a Howard lover and alumni. I went to FAMU, graduated from FAMU. So HBCU love
Aggie.
here.
Yes.
And it was a good bar. So tell us about summer of 93. I thought that was such a dope record.
Well, listen, it was a really wild time to be outside.
Listen.
I was still in elementary school at the time, so
that's okay. You can read the history books about it. The late 1900s were a time to be outside, and I'm happy that I lived through them and survived them. It was a great time for me. I was at Howard. And I had, I wanted to write about it. And that was one of the songs created in the writer's camp too, So again, Zoe had these changes and we played with them. And of course I wanted the verse to be on another, a different progression. So we did that. And, Bianca, Be My Fiasco, was like, what do you want this to be about? Because I think I already had the chorus, but Bianca was like, what is this about? And I was like, if you go to like a reunion and you see like a high school reunion or something, and you see an old flame, like what does that feel like? What do you say? How does that conversation go? That's what I wanted to be about. I wanted to feel like that. And she came up with the line, well, is it the moonlight telling me things that I want to hear, or something like that? I think that's what it was. And that was it. I was like, yes, this is exactly it. And after I finished, I demoed it there, and I didn't, of course I had to come home and really sing it. Right. But after I sang it, I wrote that ending part, that whole little,
Yo, listen. I felt I felt so seen.
Oh, that's funny.
Were you picking up somebody in your girlfriend's car?
Okay. I did that. I did it. Listen, I did it. When you look, I'm like, how does she know?
Listen, it was a wild time. There was no GPS. Nobody could track us, But yeah, so I wrote that whole part, but I knew at the beginning, the front part, I wanted an MC to bring it in like we used to do in 93, like in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, and I was like, Tracy Lee.
Yep.
Because he was actually, we were all together at Howard at the same time. So I hit him up, and he was like, hell yeah. Because again, the year of calling favors.
Amen.
Okay. And he knew exactly what I needed and delivered. And then I also called my man Dante Winslow, who is an amazing trumpet player and arranger. And he did those horns that just make it feel like that. It's just, the horns make everything feel like summertime. Right. But Dante gave me exactly what I needed. And I'm just thankful to have brothers and sisters like them, that say yes when they don't have to.
Man, it's that, that goes, I cannot get over that song and the way it was sequenced. That second half of the album, it did it for me. It does it for me. And it's just, and that song, I remember where I was giving it the truck test, and I was like, I love it. I love it to death, man. I really do. We still running it heavy. It's still, like Soup said, like we spinning it in our personal time. Like, I know we're talking to you right now, and that's great, but we rocking this for real. Like, this is our joint. Like, seriously.
Thank you so much.
I do have a question that I meant to ask you this in 2020 when we were talking, and I never got around to it. So I'm going to ask it today. With your legacy, with your what you've created so far, and you're still early in your career, you still have a lot to do. But I believe earlier on, people have dubbed you the Queen of Underground Soul. And I don't disagree with it. I always wondered if you felt like that boxed you in.
That's a really good question. Because, of course, I didn't give myself that name. I felt like that happened. I know exactly when somebody said that. It was the Neo Soul Conference in like 2007 or something in Dallas. I remember somebody saying, "You're like the Queen of Underground Soul." And I was like, okay, what comes with that? Does the crown come with it? Or
right.
Biscuits from Popeyes? I don't know. I don't know if I feel boxed in by that. And I also don't know if I feel like I have to live up to something with that title. I just know that I think people say and give titles like that out of, it's like a compliment, not realizing that it might box you in, or not realizing that it might put pressure on you to, like the hardest working woman in show it. Like, should I be the hardest working? Do I want to be that? Sometimes I just want to have a soft life. Like, I don't know if people understand that giving titles like that sometimes makes us feel a way. I don't necessarily feel boxed in, though, and that's probably just because I am so far into my career that I feel like I don't have anything to prove to anybody.
Facts. Talk your ish.
So that's where I am. If somebody had said that to me when I was 19 or 20, I might have felt boxed in,
Mm-hmm.
But where I am now, I'm like, oh, that's really sweet of you, darling. Give me some water.
Right. Give me something to drink.
Well, just know that from my perspective, like your name is a title enough. Like you said, you have nothing to prove. You are a 101. So just saying your name is enough to me. And it's the highest of compliments.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah.
As far as like listening to this album, and I hear a lot of different elements. I hear your jazz elements. I hear your R&B elements. I hear your soul. I hear gospel. I hear like a whole bunch of different elements and hip hop element. And I feel like that was a heavy. I feel like it was a heavy element on the album. Like, was that on purpose, or was that just something that just comes nature? Like, is it second nature for you?
The hip hop element?
Yeah.
Specifically? I mean, you might hear the hip hop element more than other people because you're more hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody who is more jazz leaning might hear the jazz stuff a little heavier.
I hear both like this. Like I hear.
Yeah. I am and will always be a B girl at heart. You know what I mean? I came up in the 80s. I wore Adidas and fat laces. I am, like gazelles, all that shit was, I was outside when all of that was going on. So there's a part of me that very much in the back of my head, no matter where I am or what I'm doing, there's a part of me that's going, when you say you love me, it doesn't matter. Like that shit is, what I mean? It doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. That is always a part of me. So yeah, that. And so when they give me, when Phonte wrote All the Ways, I fell into it. Like he demoed it and sent it to me, but like anything that somebody else has already demoed, I have to find myself in that.
Right.
It wasn't hard to find myself in that song at all, because I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly where I sit in this. I used to play in a go-go band, when I finished high school. That was the first thing I did, was join a go-go band, which is just a cousin of hip hop, So all that stuff is very natural to me, and I've never strayed too far from it.
All the Ways is just FYI. I think we all talked about our favorite songs. We all came up with 3 different ones on the project, but all of us love All the Ways the same. Like we all go crazy about that song.
That's super dope. Yeah, I loved when he sent it to me. I loved it too. I was really happy just because he's one of my favorite songwriters. I was just happy that Phonte penned a song for me. He wrote that one and Photograph. Yeah. So I was really happy for both of those songs, but All the Ways I was happy about because it was such a different song for where the album was at that point, when he sent it to me. Yeah, I was happy about that. Plus I love the end. He didn't give me that ending. I think on his demo, what he actually said at the end was, just fuck around right here.
Hey, you fucking around right there.
That nigga Phonte, boy, I swear.
That's cool. It's too cool.
My other question too. Well, I also wanted to say the first time I heard you was on a jazz track. It was on the Ronnie Jordan album.
Oh,
so yes. My mom was like, we would listen to jazz. I grew up, so I wasn't allowed to listen to hip hop when I was young. So like, I had to grow into it. So jazz and everything else was like my music of choice. And I picked jazz and Ronnie Jordan, Foreplay. It was a list of jazz artists. And the first time I heard you was on Ronnie Jordan's album.
Wow, and, once or twice.
Yes. And so my mom was like, we doing an interview with Seth Smith. She was like, oh, she was like, I love her. It was like, all right, cool, cool. But that was the first time I heard you. And then just like So the hip hop part, jazz and hip hop collide. They're pretty much the same. The freestyling, the you know, they feel the same. And so like you've worked with a lot of jazz artists.
Yeah.
To work with a hip hop artist that's also a writer, an R&B singer, and everything. Like, did you ever envision yourself doing that? Like, did you ever see yourself doing something like this?
You know, I never envisioned anything like this because I had never really seen it done. I just knew that I could be in a lot of different spaces and feel comfortable. Like, it doesn't surprise me that I could do a whole, you know, live show with DJ Quick and then do a live show with Chris Bodie. Like, that doesn't surprise me because I know where, you know, I know the schooling I came from musically, you know. Now other people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that, you know, but that I'm like, that's because, you know, for whatever reason, you're limited in how you see what we do. What we do isn't boxed in by these imaginary lines y'all have. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Those lines are just delineations for the purposes of advertising, really. You know, but all these genres and stuff that we have, they don't really exist except for in the ways of how we commodify the art. You know. So totally. I could totally see myself doing, you know, writing with a rapper who's also a songwriter and can write really pretty songs like Photograph, you know? That totally makes sense to me, you know?
It's really dope. That's really dope. Like, I just had to tell you, like, you know, my first time was Ronnie Jordan. I'm just like, yo, when
that's so crazy.
Interview, I was just like, it took me back to my childhood. Like, sitting.
That's so crazy.
So yeah. This
once or twice
too.
Does it really? Once or twice. I think I did that with James Poyser and Victor Duplaix back in the day. Yeah.
Talk about Collins.
That was a long time ago.
Speaking of a long time ago, you came in during the physical CDs and the albums and things like that. And you've watched it grow, and not necessarily grow, but you've watched it
evolve,
from and now you're in the streaming. So back then, when you would drop an album, you didn't really necessarily know how people responded to the albums. You had to wait. And now today, you drop this album, and then 2 seconds later, you can see somebody say, "This is my favorite song." Like, how do you?
Oh my God. That is such a good question because it's wild to be able to look in real time. The album drops at midnight and you can go on the phone and go to Spotify for artists at 2 a.m. and see how many streams you have. That's crazy, you know, because it definitely was not like that, like you said before. It's an interesting feeling. I try not to be too concerned or consumed with the numbers, because at the end of the day, I still gotta. At the end of the day, I'm proud of this project no matter what.
Right.
You know, so I gotta not let my ego be fed by these numbers and by the instantaneous positive reinforcement. You know. In the same way that I can't let myself be consumed by negative reinforcement, you know? It's an interesting existence, though, you know? I am trying to just let the time do what it does and let the album do what it does. And I'm waiting to go on the road because, like, that's where I can really see, you know, how people are moved by the songs is when I do them live. You know?
I hope Cleveland is on your list because we ain't never on nobody's list. Like,
that's not true.
Nobody come to Cleveland.
That's not true. People come to Cleveland all the time. Now, look, Cleveland isn't on my list right now, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard, you guys, because obviously I'm an indie artist. I don't have a budget to get to every single city, nor does every single city have the type of venue that would offer me what it takes to stay in the black, you know, to get my band there, stay in a hotel and do the show and not be under what it costs, you know? Right. So I try to get to where I can. I'm coming to Columbus. How far is that from Cleveland?
It's 2 hours away.
It's close enough for him to go. It's close enough for him to go.
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah, because listen, I'm coming.
You get to Columbus. It's hard to get to Cleveland.
I'm coming to Columbus, and I'm coming all the way from California. So I'm just saying, like, meet me halfway. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, he'll be there.
I'll be there.
But are you coming to Atlanta?
So Atlanta is definitely going to be on the second leg of the tour. So the first leg is 10 cities.
Okay.
And we're working on the second leg now. I know Atlanta's on there. I know we're trying to get to Detroit. I don't know why Detroit didn't bite the first time around. But again, sometimes these venues want to see numbers, but it's like, but I need to get there so you can see the numbers.
They can make sense.
You know, it's like when you're trying to join a union, but you can't join the union unless you do a union job, but you can't do the union job unless you're in the union. How am I supposed to get in the union? You know?
Well, I'm going to take the moment to gloat because I'll be in attendance on April 14th when you visit Houston again, your second home. And also, I'm going to talk a little bit more of my shit. I'm going to call Marquetta and I'll be like, Marquetta, you going to let me walk her out? Because you know I walk Cy Smith out on stage. Like, come on, y'all know what we do. So, you know, I'm sorry to my pod brother and pod sister here. They have to deal with that, but they're gonna be there in intercession with me. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That'll be great. It'll be good to see you in Houston. That's gonna be a fun show.
Absolutely. Christina, you had something?
Did I have anything else? I think Soups had something else.
I do got one. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
So this is a fun question.
Okay.
For your personal playlist. You're, we're about to have some fun. I'm about to play some music. Are you on your playlist?
No. Wait, Cy. No. Wait. No, we're not about to let you do that. You cleaned that up too much.
Yeah, cleaned it up.
You cleaned that up too much. Like we told him to clean it up, and he cleaned it too much. So we're gonna give you now. Either we gonna ask it the way you wanted it to ask, or we're gonna give you a chance to ask it right. I'm not gonna let you do that. Cy is real, so we can ask her the question, but we can ask it the right way. But ask it right.
I want to hear the real way.
Your personal playlist, your in the bedroom playlist.
Oh.
See, he completely cleaned it. He destroyed the cleaning up. He destroyed the cleaning up. He cleaned it. Oh my God! That's not what we rehearsed.
Are you added to that playlist?
The in the bedroom playlist.
We gonna have some fun tonight playlist. Like on that.
The romance. It don't have to.
Okay, wait.
Romance playlist.
We're not gonna leave him out there. Let's help him out, Christina. Let's say it the way we worked on it. Okay.
No, so it was basically I have a playlist that's called In Love or Love playlist, right?
Okay.
And that's the question he's basically trying to ask. In your love playlist or your playlist where you and your husband just relax and, just spend time with each other. It doesn't necessarily have to go straight to the bed. Like, do you have yourself in that playlist? Are your songs on that playlist?
I don't know that I'm on that playlist. I might be by proxy. Like, it might be like Body Rock or something like that, which is technically a Zoe song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
But I don't know.
That's yours. That's yours. God damn, that's yours.
Right. That's you, boo.
That is yours.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that I think that might be it, because I think sometimes my Grown and Sexy playlist is usually a little more jazz leaning. Mm-hmm. Or it's a little more like Nine Inch Nails leaning.
Oh,
Okay.
now that's the jewel.
Yes.
That's the jewel right there. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We gonna.
I'm about to go back and revisit.
We about to go and revisit some.
Figure this thing out. Like, okay.
With that though, are you like, some artists may not like to listen to themselves? Do you like to listen to your music like if you're in a car, or is it like, you know what, I probably need to not listen or get tired of it because I have to perform it?
Right. It depends. It depends on where I am with that particular piece. If it's something that I did a long time ago and I'm not, working on it, at the moment, I don't mind listening to it, and then if I'm just leaving the studio, I'm listening to something on repeat. I'm listening to whatever we just did on repeat, probably for the next 40 hours until I work out every single kink, because I am such a precision, perfectionist. My engineer probably hates me. Because I'd be like, at the 2-minute mark in 14 seconds and 30 milliseconds, there's this thing in the hi-hat that's ringing at about such and such frequency, and I need you to turn that down. I get like that, and it can start to feel like micromanagement, but it's only because I really love what I'm doing, and I want everybody else to hear it the way I hear it.
I witnessed that live, so she's telling 1,000% of the truth. Okay, so this question, my wife wanted me to ask you this.
Okay.
So this is a girly question I got to ask it. She said I had to ask it. She told me I couldn't tell Christina to ask it. I got to ask it. So when we first started when you put the artwork for the album out, we were posting it on our social media and everything. And a lot of the comments that we were getting, in addition to the excitement of the album, was how beautiful you look on the cover, how glamorous the artwork was. And then, when me and the wife, she were doing the truck test, I'm playing her song, like, listen to this one. And the display shows the album cover. She was like, I can't ever remember seeing Psy not glamorous. And I was like, that's facts. And so what she wanted me to ask you was to kind of speak on your role as a fashion icon, because if you think about it, like, it's always giving like glamour, like gowns and beauty and hair and makeup, and just you having and the couple of times I've been blessed to be in the same room with you, the room changes when you walk out. Like the atmosphere changes. You have an aura, and it just changes. And visually, you just command the room, and you are always glamorous. So, can you speak on that process and how intent you take that, and how specific you are about your style?
Wow, that is a loaded question. Oh, well, first of all, I'm not glamorous right now, as you can see. I just washed and shampooed. And
that shirt is hard, though.
Today. Thank you. It's the blackness for me.
Yeah, that's hard.
But, I think when I'm presenting myself on stage, I think, here's what it is. When I was a little girl, I remember seeing Patti LaBelle in a show called Your Arms Too Short to Box with God.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 7 years old, and my mom and I had front row seats. And at the end of the show, Patti came out to sing the curtain call, and she's in full Patti LaBelle regalia. And she takes my hand and stands me up and singing that song. And I just was like transfixed. And I said to myself, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I didn't even know that I could sing that at 7 years old. I was definitely a musician because I played piano. And I was a noisemaker. I could always make noise, and I could always imitate people, and I could always tell jokes and stuff like that. But I didn't know singing was going to be my thing. I just knew that I wanted to make people feel the way she made me feel, which was like the most special, deserving person in the room. So I think when I'm on stage or doing something like that, I want everybody to feel like they deserve to be in that room and feel special and feel elegant and feel elevated, and I think that's why I do whatever I can to lift myself into that sort of space, visually.
Right.
I'm already going to try to lift you with frequency, but I also want you to see something, especially little Black girls and Black women and Black men too. I want you to see someone and go like, yeah, that's who we are,
Right. Right.
And it's okay to be everything else too. I know it's like a whole lot of artists who are sort of anti-star right now, like, dressing down and flip-flops and whatever. That's cool for them.
Right.
I just know for me, I always want to come out on stage and make everybody else stand up a little taller too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you are very successful at that. And I think it's something that has been consistent. I've been going to your performances and seeing you perform for decades now, and I have not one time seen you come out and it's like, oh, she didn't look like she was ready. Like, it's always like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Thank you. Wow.
That does.
Thanks
so the detail that you put in your presence and in your in your performance, it's not. It doesn't go unnoticed. I just want you to understand that.
Thanks a lot. That means a lot to me. That I don't have any kids or anything like that. My legacy is the presentation. My legacy is the recording, So I definitely, want to be archived, always sort of being at my best,
Right.
That's important to me. It's important to me that the name Cy Smith be attached with that.
That's right. That's a bar right there. There it is. And we also want to congratulate you on a personal goal that you've achieved, the 5K you've been running.
Yeah.
You did 100. What was it? 150 days.
Actually, today is 157. I think.
Hey.
I have not missed a day of running since August 28th.
That's what's up, man. My God. That's amazing. Congratulations, for real.
Thank you. It's crazy because I just started running in 2020. I was not an athlete before that at all. The pandemic brought out a whole lot of me, a whole lot of different things, and all of us, I'm sure. But I learned a lot about myself when I was sitting still,
That goal that you've achieved is a testimony within itself, because you never know who you're inspiring. And we see that and we notice it. And it's like, that's consistency on another level. And it's not like you're not somebody who's not super busy. Like, you have your calendar is incredible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't you have the Go-Go show coming up soon?
Yeah, LA? This Friday, the Grammy Week Go-Go this Friday at the Peppermint Club. Yeah, I'm going to be with a bunch of DC's finest. We're called the Crank Caviar Collective, but yeah, that's going to be dope. And then I go right back out on the road so that's Friday the 2nd. Then I fly to Miami to start doing some shows again with Chris, and then Chris has his own cruise, Bodie at Sea, and we get on that cruise on February 8th. So I'm doing 2 of my own shows on the cruise, and then Chris is performing, of course.
Wow.
So I'm doing that. Yeah. And then I come back from the cruise and I have a birthday, so I'm going to go on a 4-day vacation. Okay. and then I go on tour March 1st.
Wow. Well, I definitely want to make sure all our listeners know March 1st, Cy will be opening up her Until We Meet Again tour in Indianapolis, Indiana. So make sure you go to cysmith.com, get your tickets for the shows. I just want to highlight that, again, she will be in Houston on April 14th at Warehouse Live Midtown, and Mr. Goodbar will be in the building. And if the Lord say the same, I will be walking her out on stage. Anyway, but yeah.
Jealous.
Cy. Cy, listen, I want to thank you. You and I have interviewed a couple of times. It's been wonderful. This has been just as wonderful. I want to thank you for blessing my pod members and this podcast with your presence, with your love, your vulnerability, your honesty, and just everything that you are. You are magnificent, and we love and support you. And just push this album. Tell us one more time about this album real quick. Let's sell it right quick.
This is Cy Smith, Until We Meet Again, on FE Music, produced by Zoe and Tall Black Eye, executive produced by Fonte Coleman. And I'm just grateful to add this to my body of work. I'm so thankful for people like you that champion the type of music that we're making out here. Every time I hear somebody say, ain't nobody making good R&B, I want to smack them because I'm like, we're right here. We're right here. And all you have to do is turn off the radio, turn off that bullshit, and turn on and turn on, people like Cy Smith, and let the algorithms do the work from there. You're never going to find what you're looking for in the places that don't cater to you right now.
Amen.
So, turn on the Soup's Kitchen or Soul. What's it called?
The Soul Curators.
Turn on Soul Curators. Get in touch with the people who are looking and living and championing the music that you love. So until we meet again, Cy Smith, FE Music. I don't know what else to say.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect.
Thank you so much for talking with us. We definitely appreciate you for being on, and we love the album. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure talking to y'all, for real.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Soups.
I just wanted to say, I just truly appreciate you coming through. I appreciate you liking my post and everything. So thank you. It's been a blessing with you coming through.
I want to thank your mama for putting you on.
Right.
That's what's up. Listen, this is the Soul Curators podcast. This is our first episode of 2024. We are starting this year with you. So absolutely. So for everybody who's tuned in, who's listening, please make sure that you go stream and purchase Until We Meet Again by Cy Smith right now. And until we meet again, for real. Cy, thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Love is love.
Take care.
We out. Peace and love.
Wait, real quick.
Go ahead.
What shirt you wearing?
Oh, yeah.
What shirt you wearing?
Who, me?
What's the shirt? What's the shirt of the day?
Oh, you're right.
It's the Blackness for me. It's from House of Swag. That's HAUSOFSWAG. It's a Black-owned company. She's out of Brooklyn. Shout out to Tony with an I. HouseOfSwag.com. It's the Blackness for me. It's always going to be the Blackness for me.
Listen, always. I almost forgot our shirt segment. I'm tripping.
Right. I have on It's Always Time for the Percolator by Mr. Zoe himself.
Hey.
I am wearing my little brother hoodie that I got from
Hey.
I'm wearing a Levi's denim shirt because I just came from work and ran home to get on this microphone to talk to the illustrious Cy Smith on the Soul Curators podcast. And Soup's trying to call me out because I ain't got my remedy stuff on today. But
hey, I just wanted to make sure we highlighted her shirt because that's a dope.
Yes.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Thank you.
Shout out to the MPN Network. Shout out to Mr. Al Pete, who couldn't be here, but he loves you as well. And Cy, again, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough for your time. And just have a safe trip. And if you need anything from any of us, collectively or individually, you already know what it is. Call in that favor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Until we meet again, y'all.
Until we meet again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Soul Curators podcast, powered by the MPN Network. You can check us out on all streaming platforms where podcasts are available.